Hello and welcome to this episode of the Cloud Gaming Report. I'm Zach, and this episode is going to be packed with tons of topics, partially because it's been a little while since my last episode of this podcast, but also because there's been a lot of news in the world of cloud gaming in the last couple weeks. So guys, let's go ahead and dive into our first topic, which is the latest updates for the GeForce Now app. So NVIDIA has just added support for rich presence on Discord. This is very cool. Essentially what this boils down to is the rich presence system on Discord is what Discord uses to detect which game you're currently playing and showcase that as a status in your friends list, but also on all the different servers that you're in. This is definitely handy for you and others to find people that are playing a game that you want to play and join up together to form a team on a multiplayer games. It's definitely super handy. But previously with GeForce Now, because it is a closed platform, you couldn't install Discord on your cloud computer like you can with like Parsec, Parsec with Paperspace or Shadow, for instance, or Liquid Sky or a lot of the other options out there on the market. So NVIDIA is actually engineered a way to send that information of the game that you're currently playing to Discord, because Discord previously would have no way to know which game that you're currently playing because the application you're using locally is GeForce Now versus PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or Call of Duty, for instance. So definitely cool news there. It definitely is super handy to have the game that you're currently playing shown as a status in Discord. Moving on from there, we also have a big update to Parsec. This is actually the largest update for quite a while. There's a ton of features. If you are a Parsec user, I recommend just checking out the full changelog because there's a lot of cool features and you might find something that pertains to you or possibly a bug fix for an issue that has plagued you before. But I have handpicked a couple of the larger things that I found from the changelog. The first of which is the early version of the web client. This is super cool. It's definitely handy to have a web client for Parsec so that you don't have to particularly download a app to use on your desktop on the client side. A lot of people, or a couple I guess, are moving to a web client versus having to download an app. For example, Rainway, which launched in the earlier part of this year, they solely have a web client to access and to stream using the Rainway app. At least on the client side. Of course, the server still needs a application as you download. And Google is also using a web client only for their Project Stream. So very cool to see this. Parsec is saying not to expect as good as performance on the web client versus the desktop app, but this might change as the web client evolves and they fine tune some things. We'll have to wait and see how the performance really stacks up. That is actually something I might do a video about in the future, so definitely keep an eye out for that because it could be very interesting to see how well the web client actually performs versus the desktop app. So this is handy. It's not only quicker to than having to download an application, but it could be super handy on a computer that you don't have admin permissions and you can't physically install an application because you don't have the available permissions, possibly like a school computer. I'm not saying that you should play games instead of doing your schoolwork, but maybe you're done with everything that you have to do that day and you're just going to be sitting there twiddling your thumbs, or you could, use Parsec and play a game. Definitely would be a handy use case, especially from my experience of having times where I had nothing to do in school, and it would have been cool to just load up a game and spend 10 minutes, just having some fun. But anyways, I digress. We're getting off topic. Now, getting back on topic, we're going to talk about Project Stream, which is the official project from Google for their cloud gaming platform. This was previously titled Project Yeti. Google launched the beta for Project Stream on October 5th with official support for only a single game, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. At this point in time, I did apply to the beta, but I did not get into it, sadly, so I don't have any first-hand experience to share with you guys, but it definitely does seem to be a pretty solid app from the reviews that I have read. So with the Project Stream, it is running Assassin's Creed Odyssey, as I mentioned, and this is a great fit for a test, beta of a streaming client, simply because Assassin's Creed Odyssey is an action game. I have played games similar to it, and similar to it in like a type of game, really, not a gameplay style, but the type of game. And what I'm referring to is Tomb Raider. Both of those games are kind of action games, and they're designed with consoles in mind. A large portion of their sales are on the console, so they're designed with controllers and consoles in mind. And what that means is a lot of the times controllers are more input lag resistant because some TVs add post-processing to the mix that people that design games for consoles have to take into account and make sure that the games are not affected by that. And also a lot of times consoles only render at 60 FPS, for instance, or possibly even lower. So with all that in mind, it's a great fit for cloud gaming, especially in beta app, because it's going to be a great 1080p 60 FPS experience. It's not going to consume a ton of data because 1080p doesn't consume as much as like 4K. And all in all, it's a good test game, in my opinion, for Project Stream. So the cool thing about Project Stream, like Rainway and now Parsec being a web app, it doesn't require a desktop app. You can play straight from your Chrome browser. Of course, it would be nice if you could play from Firefox and Edge possibly, and even Safari. But at this point in time, it is Chrome browser only, but it is Google, so that is to be expected. But what this does mean, as long as you have the Chrome browser, you can play on Windows, Linux, Mac, and Chrome OS. Of course, there isn't support for the mobile version of the Chrome browser yet, so if you do have the iPhone or an Android phone, no luck yet on playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey using Project Stream, but definitely might be something in the near future we might be able to enjoy, or might require an app on the Android side that is yet to be seen. Moving on from our Project Stream talk, we have another big announcement from a large company with a lot of cloud computational power. This time it's Microsoft with the Project xCloud. We have heard rumors about this service in the past. For example, we knew that the Scarlett family of Xbox devices is going to be launching in 2020. Two of those devices were rumored to be hardware devices, not too similar from a setup we have now, where you have one that has a little bit more power than the other. Both of those, of course, were going to have more power than current Xbox hardware devices. But outside of that, we knew that one of the devices was going to be a cloud gaming service, which has now been given the title Project xCloud. Outside of that, we do know that trials are going to be starting in 2019. Once again, we don't really have a time frame on when that will be. It might be early 2019, it might be closer to E3, it might be late 2019. We really don't have a solid time frame at this point in time, but we do know that trials will be starting in 2019, so hopefully I'll be able to get into those and share my experiences with you guys. Moving on from there, we have the fact that this will be running on Azure data centers, which is kind of common sense because those are the cloud computing service from Microsoft, so it's kind of assumed that it would be, but we do have confirmation. It will be using custom hardware. We did get a cool sneak peek that I'll show now that gives some insight into the hardware and kind of what it looks like. It's just a cool behind the scenes. There's not a lot of details about it yet, outside of the fact that one of these hardware servers will be able to run multiple instances of the Project xCloud, so multiple people will be able to game on a single physical server. So outside of that, the cool thing about being on the Azure data center is the fact that there are a ton of data centers spread across the US, which is going to be a great thing for making cloud gaming more mainstream, simply because the more servers there are, or the more data centers there are, that increases the likelihood that you're close to those data centers, which will mean less latency between you and the data center, simply due to physical proximity. So the very cool news there. Of course, there are other cool things that Microsoft kind of has with the xCloud that we've heard rumors, one of which is how it's actually going to work. I don't want to dive into that now because it's kind of detailed. It is a unique approach to cloud gaming, and I want to do it justice by giving it a better explanation, hopefully with some graphics. I'm going to try working on those and design something that's a little bit better than me simply explaining it. It'll be a little bit more, make a little more sense of how it's rumored to work. Moving on from there, though, they do have the Xbox Game Pass, which is going to be very interesting. I have talked about this before because Shadow runs Windows 10, where most cloud gaming services run Windows Server, which means they don't have the Microsoft Store. So Shadow is in a unique boat there where they're able to use the Game Pass in part. Not all games on the Game Pass are available on the Microsoft Store, but games that are, as long as you have that $10 per month subscription, you have access to those games for free on the Microsoft Store, and all first-party Microsoft games are going to be available day one on the Xbox Game Pass. So very interesting news there, and the fact that Project xCloud will be actually running Xbox versus Windows, which means they'll have access to all the games in the Game Pass library. Finally, the final point that we have here is Microsoft has been testing with consoles, PCs, and mobile phones. So they're looking at the whole gamut of devices, whether that be an Android device or a PC or even a console. The interesting thing with the console is possibly they might allow this to be run on older Xbox One devices possibly. So you might be able to upgrade those older devices to better graphics simply by using the cloud gaming service rather than having to go out and buy a new physical device. it might be possible that they might release a smaller Xbox One that's for people that mainly want to consume media. For instance, like most of the time, my Xbox is playing Netflix, Amazon, or Hulu, one of those different apps. It's not playing games most of the time because I'm about the only one that actually games on it. So with all that being said, a lot of cool things from Project xCloud. I'm excited to hopefully try it out in the near future. Our final topic for this episode, of course, is going to be the list of games just added to the GeForce Now platform in the last couple of weeks. Of course, I don't think any episode of the Cloud Gaming Report would be complete without this list. And since GeForce Now is a closed platform, it's always nice to know what's available on the platform so that you might know to go check it out, because some of these games are older games. So without further delay, the list of games includes Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Cardboard Survival, My Memory of Us, Myst 3 Exile, Myst 4 Revelation, Myst Masterpiece Edition, Real Myst Masterpiece Edition, Space Hulk Tactics, WWE 2K19, Battle Royale, Hold Fast Nations of War, Hunt Showdown, and last but not least, Lego DC Supervillains. So a big list of games have been added in the last couple of weeks. Always good to see more games on this platform, as since it is a closed platform, if the game isn't officially supported, even if it is on Steam, you can install it, but it might not be the best experience. And these games have been tested by NVIDIA, so hopefully that means they perform without any new issues, at least due to being ran on a cloud gaming platform. So thanks for watching, guys, or listening if you're listening to the podcast or the audio version of this podcast. I do greatly appreciate everybody that listens, watches. Please reach out to me either in the comment section on YouTube or hit me up on Twitter or Discord with any feedback you have. A game I'm thinking about testing is Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Let me know if you think I should test that. It looks kind of interesting. I used to play some of the older Call of Duties back in the Modern Warfare days, like Modern Warfare 1 and 2. So it's been a little while since I have played it. So we'll have to see if I test it or not. I might not be great at it simply since it's been a little while, but I'd be interested to see if you guys think I should test it. Once again, guys, thanks for watching or listening, and until next time, Zach out.